I've been contracted by several military entities since 2007. I have a security clearance and unfortunately cannot disclose my employer or specific locations. In early September of 2013, while on duty at our facility, which is located in the state of California, I have witnessed an object that appeared over the hills about 1 mile from where we were located. I was outside having a smoke break with 2 other employees, we'll call them, when one of them noticed something moving above the tree line on top of the hill across from us. The sun had just set, but there was still some light left in the sky. We all looked towards this area and saw what seemed like 3 large orange orbs hovering close together. It was almost as if they were attached to each other. The size of these objects is difficult to determine since it wasn't completely dark, but I would guess they may have been between 5 to 10 feet wide. Now, they remained stationary for about 5 minutes before very slowly descending behind the trees and out of view. Now, as soon as we realized that these weren't normal aircraft lights, since we see plenty around here, we notified one of our supervisors, who then contacted security. Now, it took several days before any real information regarding this sighting reached us. Informally speaking with another employee who has access to certain files, he mentioned that similar sightings occurred within only weeks prior, though nothing definitive could be determined. There are many people working here who do not know anything about UFOs, or simply don't believe such things could exist. But after seeing these objects myself, let's just say you can count me among those now, looking up into the night sky more often than usual. I've always been a skeptic, especially when it comes to extraterrestrials, thinking that most sightings were simply misidentified aircraft or natural phenomena easily explained away. But after seeing these strange orange orbs in the sky, let's just say that I feel like there's more going on. The area where I witnessed the orbs is located in California, as I've stated previously. Unfortunately, I cannot give any more specifics. The facility where I work is situated on a hilltop overlooking a valley with rolling hills and mountains beyond that. The immediate vicinity of our location consists of mostly undeveloped land with some residential areas scattered around. There are also several other military facilities nearby. In regards to other sightings or experiences in this same area, there have been quite a few stories circulating. One person, who I will not name, has worked at this particular location for many years. And in fact, they informed me about a particular incident that happened all the way back in 1992. A group of people were standing outside during lunch break when they noticed what appeared to be 3 metallic spheres hovering above one of the hills. Now, these objects seemed much larger than those that we saw, possibly as large as trucks, according to this witness. After hovering for several minutes, these spheres suddenly shot up in the sky at an incredible speed before simply vanishing. I've also heard similar accounts from others who claim to have seen strange lights or even objects moving through the air. It seems like most sightings occurred during the late evening hours, but there have been daytime reports too. There's another story involving 2 different security guards who were stationed at the entrance gate. They reported seeing what looked like a large black triangle hovering very low near the trees, right near their post one evening. This was back in 2009, I believe, so I'm not sure if it's entirely related, but I thought it was worth mentioning since you have talked about black triangles. Several people working here believe these incidents may be connected somehow, just due to the similarities between them. Oh, it's also worth noting the fact that the base security has increased patrols throughout the surrounding areas following our experiences. so there must be something going on. I've been retired now for quite a few years. I used to work in law enforcement in the state of California. I specifically worked in the San Francisco Bay Area for over 30 years, but that's not why I'm writing. I've had some experience with Bigfoot sightings, but nothing like what is happening right now. After retiring from my agency, I was contracted by a branch of government that is not public. I guess you can call that shadow government. I was to assist in an investigation of the death of several hikers occurring near Yosemite National Park during the summer of 2013. The details are confidential at this time, though there has been some speculation on social media about these incidents. I'll let you do the research. It was determined that multiple victims were killed as a result of violent attacks by one or more Bigfoots, Sasquatch, I guess you can call them. Now, there have been many theories offered regarding these deaths, animal attacks, serial killers, etc. But it was clearly evident after examining all the evidence available, including witness statements and photographs, that only Sasquatch could be responsible. Now, this was initially covered up. I'm sure you've heard stories about other similar cases around North America, and probably more recently than ever. This seems to be increasing exponentially within the recent years. The area is in the Sierra Nevada mountains, right near a small town called Shaver Lake. The entire region has been known for Bigfoot sightings and encounters going back so many years. In fact, there have been numerous reports of violent attacks on hikers and campers in the last few decades alone, most of which were unfortunately covered up by local authorities or written off as animal attacks, and good reason. There are several reasons why this area seems to be a hotbed. You have dense forest cover with limited access and a lot of foliage. There's an abundance of wildlife and food. It's very remote. The altitude alone, the climate, fresh water sources, and lastly, its history. Now, in addition to these factors, it should also be noted that Native American tribes who have long believed that this region is sacred ground and inhabited by wild men who guard their territory very fiercely. Now, I can tell you from my own experience investigating these cases that there was no doubt about what had occurred at each crime scene. The victims' injuries were consistent with those caused by large primates, or Sasquatch. It was determined through DNA analysis that multiple individuals were involved in some instances. The problem we faced during our investigation was getting local law enforcement agencies to cooperate fully. They seemed more interested in covering up the incidents than solving them. As I mentioned prior, I'm bound not to disclose specific details regarding the findings until such time as they are declassified. Trust me, if I give away too much, well, I don't want to out myself. Now, I will say this. The situation involving these beings and the violence against humans appears to be escalating, as well as the rate of cover-ups. Now, there may come a point when it becomes impossible for, at least on a public level, the governments to deny all levels of their existence. Oh, one last thing I'll add to this is that Yosemite has a large death count from unknown wild dogs. This, of course, is covered up from public attention. But I can tell you that there has been a number of hiker deaths in Yosemite National Park and the surrounding area that are all attributed to wild dogs. I believe these attacks are actually being carried out by large bipedal canines. Now, there is a plethora of evidence to suggest this, including witness statements and photographs, none of which are ever available to the public. These cases have also been covered up. The problem with these incidents is that they're often dismissed as accidents. Unfortunately, the truth is much more sinister. I'm sorry I can't give more information, but I hope that this information helps shed at least some light on what's currently happening in California. I don't know if I would exactly call myself a federal agent, but I've been contracted by the government for multiple assignments, and particularly to monitor the activities of certain paranormal groups. I've been given permission to provide you with information about an incident that occurred back in 2012 near Joshua Tree in California. The witness was camping on BLM land east of Joshua Tree National Park for several days. This area is known as the Rocks due to the large boulders scattered throughout this desert landscape. On one night in particular, right around midnight, he heard what sounded like someone running through his campsite, as if they were being chased by something or someone else. He grabs his flashlight, scans the area, but didn't see anything out of place. He decided not to pursue any further investigation, as it could be dangerous if there was some kind of confrontation. As he lay back down in his tent, he noticed a bright light shining into it from outside, and then everything went black. Now, when he woke up later, he wasn't sure how long, it was daylight and hot inside the tent. When he unzipped the flap and looked outside, all that remained at his campsite were tire tracks leading away. There had also been numerous other campsites set up nearby when he arrived earlier, but now there were no signs that anyone had ever occupied them. After packing up quickly, while scanning for any unusual activity or persons approaching, he just left. It's my belief that these beings are very aware of who we are and why we're here. I think their objective is purely experimental, to gather data on our biology without causing harm. They've done so many things which indicate curiosity, such as hovering over people, lying prone before zapping them, but in this case, I'm guessing whoever visited your friend probably just got carried away whilst performing tests. They didn't want him telling others what happened here, hence erasing the memory. I've been following your YouTube for several years, and I believe that you are one of the few who can handle a story such as this. In fact, you might be able to possibly help with what is happening in California's Sierra Nevada mountains. Long story short, I would consider myself a fairly experienced outdoorsman. I've been all over North America hiking, including Alaska and Canada's Yukon Territory. In fact, just a few months ago, I was contacted by email from someone claiming to be a part of an underground branch of government who was investigating Bigfoot activity in Northern California's Trinity Alps Wilderness area. Right around near Redding. The person provided very specific details about 2 incidents where campers were killed by Bigfoot creatures. This person stated that he had personally seen these beings on numerous occasions while working as a contractor for the U.S. Forest Service in Shasta Trinity National Forests. He described them as very large humanoids, generally having long black hair or cinnamon red hair, except for their faces, which had less hair but enough to hide any facial features. He also noted seeing other individuals at different times which appeared smaller than the others, possibly females or younger ones. Now, according to this information, there has been an ongoing cover-up regarding these deaths since they occurred within federal park lands. It appears that my background experience made me appealing enough for him to reach out for assistance. He's even sent me photos taken with night vision equipment showing 3 adult males moving through heavy forest right near Whiskeytown Lake area, just west of Redding. The photo clearly shows 2 dark figures walking upright alongside each other, carrying something between them using both hands, just like a person. A third figure is partially visible behind trees further back in, because it seems unlikely anyone would try such deception unless real proof existed. And knowing how hard it would be to fake something like this, I'm inclined to think these may actually show some kind of creatures present. But before contacting authorities or trying to get more evidence myself, if possible, I wanted to see if I can get your take on it. If true, then obviously we should proceed cautiously because killing people without reason isn't something any animal would do. So if they are doing it for some reason, then we should try to understand what that is before rushing to judgment and, well, potentially causing more harm than good. Also, I don't know how much you've looked into the Bigfoot subject, but there seems to be a lot of these beings killing hikers. The person informed me that they have spent several years studying this phenomenon as well as other cryptids in the area, and he began stating that his experience in the Shasta Trinity National Forest made him realize that most encounters with Sasquatch were simply not peaceful or benign. He said to me, and I quote, "These are not gentle giants. They are ruthless predators." That will always stick with me, but I'm very interested to hear your thoughts on all of this. Or, if you decide to read this for any of your channels, I would be curious to hear what anyone else has to say on it. I'm going to keep this simple. I'm going to reveal to you some very sensitive information, so I'm going to remain anonymous. I've seen the evidence and what is happening in California. It's real. I was involved in the project to develop them, but had no idea they were being released into the wild until more recently. I began seeing strange reports of animals attacking people and pets all over California. Wild dog attacks, more specifically. The reason for their release is that there are too many, and we need to thin out the population before things get worse. The original plan, or so I was informed by my higher-ups, was to just release wolves or some other large predator back into California, like they did with Yellowstone National Park years ago. But then there was an idea that came up of creating this new breed of beings, that it would be more effective because they could reproduce so quickly. So far, from what I've heard, most of these attacks have been taking place at night near rivers or lakes, specifically in large national parks, because they're federally protected. They're very aggressive towards humans. Now, I'm not sure how much longer my job will last after disclosing this information, as we are supposed to keep everything about our work as secret as possible, even from family members. The government project that developed these beings is what we refer to as Project Zeta 2.0, and it was run by a branch organization within DARPA. The goal of the project was to create bioweapon cryptids that could be used for population control and warfare training. One of the beings they created is known as Alpha. It appears like a large dog with long, sharp teeth and claws. It has enhanced senses, including night vision, hearing, and smell. They were designed to hunt humans during the night hours. Another being they made is Beta Scavenger, which resembles something more along the lines of an ape and a reptile. These things don't have fur, just scales, generally with some spikes down their back. Somewhat similar to a stegosaurus, except much smaller than one would think. They're able to move quickly, being arboreal climbers, making them very agile, and they could leap from tree branch onto prey below, ripping through flesh with powerful jaws, and capable of slicing through bone. One last thing we worked on before my contract ended earlier this year was Omega drones. These are small insect-like beings resembling ants, with size ranging from half an inch up to 2 inches in length, depending on the stage of development. They do possess wings, allowing for flight, while also having the ability to crawl on walls, ceilings, and other surfaces easily, thanks to a special adhesive located on the underside of their bodies. This ensures grip at all times, even hanging upside down if necessary. Females lay eggs underground, hatching larvae that emerge and eventually grow into adult drones, capable of handling various tasks assigned by handlers, like scouting, locating targets, retrieving objects, etc. Omega drones are controlled remotely via a computer interface, with operators wearing headsets enabling direct communication. Most likely, the creatures being seen in California are either alpha hunters or beta scavengers. I have no idea how many were released, but based on my reports, It seems like there could be hundreds, if not thousands. Their release was likely done to test their effectiveness and see how they integrate into the environment around them. The plan is probably to use these things for population control, especially in our national parks. Now, I'm not sure what can be done, as my job was just to help develop these things. I don't know anyone else who worked on Zeta 2.0, other than a few colleagues that left after the project ended. However, I think it's important for people to know what's happening, to protect yourself whenever you're out, especially in a national park. And more importantly, if you're ever out at night, always be aware of your surroundings. I'm a contractor for an undisclosed branch of government, and I've been hired to work on this project since it began. Now that we are getting close to being finished, I feel a lot safer in sharing some of what has happened here with you all. My name is redacted by my request because they do monitor most everything. I was brought onto this job after working as an electrical engineer at the Los Alamos National Laboratory, or LANL, in New Mexico for over 10 years. I specialized in high-energy particle physics. They were looking for someone who could handle the power requirements necessary to keep whatever they had alive down there operational. The location specifically is underneath downtown LA, beneath one of their many buildings near Skid Row. The building above us looks like any other office complex, but it's much larger than normal and goes several floors below ground level. There are only two ways in: through an underground tunnel system or via chopper from Edwards Air Force Base, which flies directly over us every morning around 3. They have about 50 people topside guarding the entrance, so don't try anything funny, please. It won't be a good idea. We began construction back in '89 when President Reagan signed off on Operation Blue Book 2, which would authorize funding specifically allocated towards finding extraterrestrial life forms living among humans without detection. Now, this came shortly after the Roswell crash site discovery revealed advanced technology not made by man alone, therefore proving aliens exist somewhere else outside Earth. After months spent searching various locations across the country, including the Nevada desert region where Area 51 sits today, along with others such as Wright-Patterson AFB, Ohio, etc., we eventually descended upon LA's underground subway system due to its vast size, ease of access, and secrecy involved compared to other potential sites mentioned earlier. Initially, we used existing tunnels connecting different parts of the city together, then expanded them further until large enough to accommodate both personnel and equipment needed to complete the mission objectives assigned. Nowadays, most workers live on site permanently, though some still commute daily depending on their function assigned at the time of the hiring process, which usually involves background checks, etc., similar to any other government agency when employing someone new. Now, there are multiple levels below ground, each one having its own purpose, ranging from research, living quarters, medical facilities, recreational areas, training grounds, etc. Each one is connected via elevators and stairwells, allowing easy movement between them, all without the need to ever go outside unless absolutely necessary, such as during emergencies or if something goes wrong requiring immediate attention. The entire complex is powered by a very advanced fusion reactor, capable of generating enough electricity to keep everything running smoothly around the clock, non-stop, since no sunlight reaches this far due to the depth involved, combined with constant cloud cover experienced above the surface, which makes solar power an impractical option here. Instead, we rely heavily upon nuclear energy produced by our reactors to ensure a continuous supply is available, uninterrupted whenever needed. This project has been kept secret for so long because those in charge don't want the general public knowing about the existence of extraterrestrial life forms among us, fearing widespread panic and chaos could ensue should the word ever get out, leading to mass hysteria, riots, looting, destruction of property, possibly resulting in martial law, and worst of all, distrust in the federal government. During my tenure working there, I've seen things and heard stories told by others that defy explanation and conventional wisdom, but I cannot deny what I've witnessed firsthand, nor dismiss any rumors circulating regarding various testing or experiments conducted on live subjects, some of which are still alive, while others are not so lucky. The fate met by these unfortunate souls remains unknown to anyone, except maybe a few top who oversee operations, closely monitor progress made towards achieving the ultimate goal of capturing aliens undetected within the human population on a large scale, without causing too much disruption to the normal everyday activities carried out by people unaware of anything unusual happening in the nearby vicinity. Everyday lives continue unabated, unaffected by the presence in the shadows beneath the streets. Several different species are known to exist, though the exact number isn't clear, at least to me personally, since information is compartmentalized, and only certain individuals possess the knowledge required to make informed decisions regarding the future course of action to be taken concerning the ongoing investigation. But I believe there are at least 5, possibly more, currently residing among us today, based on what I've seen, heard, and read over the years while employed here. These beings come in various shapes, sizes, and colors. Some look almost identical to humans, while others resemble hybrids, like animals, insects, plants, and even objects found in nature like rocks, trees, water, clouds, and air, depending on their origin and genetic makeup involved, which varies greatly between the species discovered and far through other experiments. Each individual group encountered during past encounters with them by personnel assigned specific tasks relating to gathering intelligence, capturing specimens, studying behavioral patterns, and analyzing biological samples obtained from autopsies performed on deceased subjects brought to the facility for testing purposes. I've probably already spoken too much, but I will leave you with this. Know that the truth is out there and that there is far more going on than you will ever know as a civilian stuck in the public eye.